Monday, Meditation Secrets. So we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. And before we jump into answering your questions that you have about meditation, I want to share a few things that I think will shed a great deal of light and be of help and assistance to you. So I want to share some facts to you about some people that we consider geniuses, who are very legendary in their own right, who have accomplished a great deal in their lifetimes, and that we, by all accounts, everyone acknowledges that these people are geniuses. So the first person I want to bring up is Elon Musk. Many of you don't know that when Elon Musk graduated from college, he went to apply for a job at Netscape, which is a browser. And when he went to apply for a job with Netscape, he could not get a job interview with them. So for a week, he parked himself in the lobby, hoping that he would run into people that he could speak to that worked for Netscape that would eventually grant him an interview. However, he was so painfully shy that yielded 0 results. And so as he continued on his quest for employment, he couldn't get anybody to hire him. So after a while, he finally decided, I guess I'm going to have to be self-employed because no one will hire me. So luckily, he had enough faith and trust in his own abilities to accomplish certain goals and tasks and dreams that he embarked on becoming self-employed. And then the rest is history. We all know of his incredible meteoric rise that he had with PayPal. And from there, he sold PayPal and made billions of dollars through his sale of PayPal. But he didn't stop there. He continued on. He was a young man. He was only in his 30s when he accomplished billionaire status. And so what is he going to do for the rest of his life? He still had a lot of brain juice, a lot of goals, a lot of ideas that he wanted to bring forth in 3D. So he couldn't just sit idle doing nothing. So he'd always had a fascination with energy and with rocket ships and with electricity. Being a great student of Nikola Tesla, he embarked on not one, not two, but 3 companies all at the same time. So he founded SolarX, he founded Tesla Motors, and SpaceX. That's 3 companies. And was it easy? No. In fact, several times he came very close to filing for bankruptcy because he could not make payroll. And his advisors were telling him, you're going to have to let go of one of the companies so that the other 2 will survive. And he just decided there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way that I can pull this off. And there were a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of anguish, a lot of angst, but he pulled it through. And now he made the impossible possible repeatedly. You know, they said that they couldn't get electrical vehicles that would be affordable for people to drive, and you couldn't get electrical vehicles to have enough of them, you know, horsepower on the uptake. All the things that they told him that were not possible, he figured out there's got to be a way. So why am I sharing this with you about Tesla and about not just Tesla, because Nikola Tesla also had an incredible amount of adversity and he had to overcome incredible odds. But as I'm sharing with you about Elon Musk, let me go ahead and share with you my screen. And I'm going to share with you some facts, some things that I think you will find very amazing about another gent. I'm going to stop the screen share here. Let me make sure I have this up. I had it queued up before we started here. Yeah, we have it here. So, okay, so now we can do the screen share. So this is what I want to share with you. So the next person that I want to share with you is my beloved Einstein. Now, why do I say my beloved Einstein? Well, I've been studying biographies of the greats since I was in junior high school. That's always been a passion of mine. So let me share with you some facts here about Einstein, which I think most of you don't know. And I do allude to some of these things in my Intuition Manifesto book, because Einstein, a lot of people don't know some of these basic elemental facts about him that I think that if you were aware of a little bit more about the nuances of him and who he was and how he lived his life, I think you'll be surprised at how you share similar traits, similar feelings to Einstein. So the first thing is, did you know that Einstein slept for at least 10 hours per day? That's right, my friends and gems. He slept at least 10 hours or more a day. So think about it, 24 hours in a day, 10 hours right off the top. That leaves you 14 hours to do everything else. But did you know that his theory on the special relativity on, E equals mc squared, did you know that that theory came to him while he was dreaming? That's right, my friends and gems. It didn't come to him working hard, toiling, trying to figure out how does this world work? No, it was in his dream state. In that pocket of 10 plus hours that he reserves for sleeping every night, it came to him in this magical dream. Not unlike Da Vinci, not unlike Mozart, not unlike Socrates, not unlike Walter Russell, not unlike W.C. Clement Stone. There are so many of the greats that have had this experience. And Einstein too. He received the Da Vinci Code. Da Vinci himself, he had so many things that came to him in the dream state. So many things that came to him in his walks. He would take daily walks. That's one of the things that you will find in common with a lot of these folks, which are people like you with families like yours who are figuring out how to navigate themselves through this earth plane. So his theory came on during a dream state while he was sleeping at night. So what else can I tell you? I already alluded to this a few seconds ago. Einstein's daily walk to him was actually sacred. Guess what? Steve Jobs took walks every day. He was known to actually take walks with part of his team members, and they would take these 10-minute walks, and in a 10-minute time period, they would come up with all these things, and then they would go back to the office. So Einstein recognized that while he was in what I would say is a walking meditation, he would leave whatever he was doing in his lab, whatever he was doing in his office, he left that behind, and then he changed to a different time segment of his life where he's moving out of the space of his office, and then he would walk into this new space-time continuum, different place. Basically, he was sporting a different face. Instead of being focused maybe on a microscope or trying to figure out some sort of problem, now he has a relaxed face and a relaxed face. His gaze, instead of focusing on something short-sighted, which we all do when we're in front of a computer, in front of a microscope, in front of research papers, books, that's a very short-sighted perspective. So now when you go for a walk, you have a far-sighted perspective. You're lifting your gaze. There's all sorts of neurological implications, which I know he probably wasn't thinking about. You know, he wasn't a physiologist, an anatomist. He wasn't one that was imbued with a lot of medical science. He was a physicist. However, by your taking the eyes and the breath are such mechanical triggers for your left and right brain and engaging it. So he instinctively knew that by him lifting his gaze from a short-sighted perspective that he had been in for hours, now he's lifting up his gaze. He's having a farther perspective. He's walking, engaging circulation throughout his body. And he knew that something loosened up as he moved in a different time-space continuum. When you move from one room to another, you're in a different time-space continuum. When you remove yourself from your home and you go outside your front door, you're in a different space-time continuum. When you get into your car, that's yet another space-time continuum. Every time you change from location, you're in a different energy, a different time-space continuum. And he was aware of that. And he knew the benefit that he received from taking the time to do his sacred daily walk. Maybe there's a clue there for you too. Next, while he was working at Princeton, he'd walk the 1.5 mile journey there and back. So he didn't drive. He didn't take public transportation. He definitely didn't Uber, because Uber didn't exist and Lyft didn't exist back then. He chose to walk because he knew that that would loosen up the energy inside of his body, that none of the energy would be sitting, pooling around stagnant in his body. He knew that as he took breaths, as he walked vigorously towards Princeton to get to his lab, he knew that that energetic flow would only support the energy that was him. That wasn't going to be in a stagnant or static. There's no such thing as a static body. You can try to be as still as possible and you can create static spots in your body. But while you're alive, there's no such thing as a static body. Even after you pass away, you continue to hear for about 30 to 33 minutes after you've passed on. Even though your brain waves have ceased to pulse, your ears are still able to pick up the vibrational frequencies, and people are able to hear up to half an hour after they've passed on. And so you recognize the benefit of him walking, whether it snowed or whether it rained or whether it was sunny. He knew that in the sun, he was receiving a benefit. And in the cold, we now are so lucky. We have the body of work of Wim Hof, the proverbial Iceman. We have so much information now about the benefits that the human body receives being put in a cold, icy environment, in contrast with that which is nice and warm and comfy. You know, we Americans, we love our 70, 72 degrees, nice, not too hot, not too cold. It's just right. Some people like it a little cooler. Some of us like it 68, 69, but let's say 68 to 72 degrees. That's kind of a nice warm range where most people are pretty comfortable. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. Okay. But we benefit a great deal when we get out of that comfort zone of 68 to 72 degrees. And now we are, it might just be for a minute or two in a cold shower or in an ice tub, or maybe you're stepping outside where it is 60 degrees, 55 degrees, 40 degrees, 35 degrees, however cold it might be, 20 degrees. I don't know how cold it was in Princeton when he walked through town to get to Princeton from his home. But I can assure you, it's got to be under 40 degrees because it was snowing. There was snow oftentimes on the ground. And then there are times of the year where there's no snow and it's sunny. And so that change of temperature to the body is actually very rejuvenating. There's a lot of health benefits. We're not going to get into all those details today, but something for you to think about. Next, another outstanding scientist is Charles Darwin. And he went for not one, not two, but three 45-minute walks every day. Charles Darwin. We have Darwinian theory. We have the natural selection theory, you know, the strongest in the survival of the strongest and the fittest. That all came from Darwin. And notice that he took 3 45-minute walks a day. He understood that when you walk outside in nature, again, the benefit of the sun, the benefit of the snow, the benefit of the cold, the benefit of circulating the energy in your body. It's very, very powerful. That's Charles Darwin. And I gotta say that these men also must have inherently known about the difference of their brainwave state, where they were going from a high beta brainwave state, which we've talked about earlier here on Meditation Secrets. So now from a beta wave range state, they moved to an alpha brainwave state, maybe even a delta brainwave state. I don't know, because I don't know what their meditative practices were. But at the very least, they're going from a beta low, possibly a high beta brainwave state to an alpha brainwave state, because it can be very meditative to walk, which is why we do walking meditations as well. Well, think about that. Next, we have, this is your brain when you've been sitting down quietly, just relaxing. And this is how your brain shows up when we hook it up. And you'll see that the EEG just shows some left brain activity, a little bit, you know, in the reptilian brain, a little bit in the back. No front, there's a little bit of the frontal you could see here, the frontal lobe, a little bit on the left side, which is your emotional responses and your impulse control come from the frontal lobe. So now I want you to see, after a 20-minute walk, look at the amount of brain engagement, the amount of brain energy, the amount of brain usage after just a 20-minute walk, my friends and gems. That's it, just a 20-minute walk. Now, as a neurosomatic practitioner, I got to tell you, as a neurosomatic clinician, metaphysician, I got to tell you that anytime you're using your left hand and your right hand, you're using your left leg, your right leg, because you're walking. You don't even have to be talking. You are engaging left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right hemispheres of your brain. It's alternating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. On an EEG, it shows up a little bit differently on a male than it does a female, but make no mistakes, for both, you get entire brain engagement. Okay, and the energy is now circulating through the frontal lobe. As you can see here very clearly, the frontal lobe, notice how it shifts a little bit more from the left as opposed to going more centered towards your pineal gland and to the right. So you're literally in your right mind, like I talk about being in your right mind in the Intuition Manifesto book. And then notice how the left and the right lobe are more balanced, and you have right mindedness, you have right lobe engagement of the brain. Fascinating, isn't it? So, of course, walking, it distracts the brain from more cerebral tasks, such as your past knowledge, whatever you've learned in school, in books, through experience, through your lifetime, through social conditioning, which are all limited. That's all on your left brain. And on your right brain, that is where you are one with the one. That's where the infinite you exists, the you that is the most loving aspect of you. So walking, it distracts your brain from your more cerebral tasks, and it adopts a totally different style of thinking, which is right-mindedness, which I talk a great deal about in the Intuition Manifesto book, which when you meditate, every single time you meditate, you are engaging your right mind, you're engaging that right lobe, you're activating the pineal gland, and you are opening yourself up to be aware and to notice, to play, pretend, and make believe that you are the all. Because if you don't believe it or know it when you start, as you continue to meditate, you are going to notice and you are going to comprehend and understand in a way that no one could possibly convince you. You are going to know that you know that you know, just like you know, without any kind of medical proof, without any kind of biological testing, you know, if you're a girl, you know that you're a girl. No one needs to prove that to you with a genetics test or a blood test. Same thing if you're a boy, you just know. And the same thing is true about this. Once you've meditated enough and you really get to know yourself, you realize that you are the most loving aspect of you, the part of you that is the all, that is one with the one, that is the one, that is wonderful, that is connected and is in that 5D realm where there are an infinite amount of possibilities, and you are one with everything in this now moment. So the next thing that you probably didn't know about Einstein, when I first learned about this 7, 8, 9 years ago, I was just so thrilled because I am a musician too. I play the piano, I play the flute, I play the guitar. I love to sing, love to karaoke. And the nuance that I'm sharing here with you is that, first of all, playing an instrument could be amazing training for the brain. Playing music engages the right hemisphere of your brain. When you're reading music, you're engaging the left hemisphere of your brain. So did you know that Einstein actually played for 2 hours every day? He played the violin. That's right, my friends and gems. He played the violin for 2 hours. Now think about that just for a second. 10 hours a day, at least 10 hours a day, he slept. Holy cow, 10 hours. And on top of that, he played his violin every day for 2 hours. So now that's 12 hours. That leaves only 12 hours left to do everything else. Heaven forbid he should sleep more than the 10 hours, but he slept a minimum of 10 hours. So we're going to just keep the math easy. 10 plus 2 of the violin is 12 hours. That left him 12 hours to do everything that he did in his lifetime. That includes eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, preparing it before he got married and after he was no longer with his wife. Because as you may or may not know, he at one point, he had a son, and at one point him and his wife weren't seeing eye to eye, and they kind of had to go their separate ways, but you can read about that on your own time. But basically, he had to do everything in the 12 remaining hours. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 3 meals. So let's say that's 3 hours. We're up to now 15 hours are consumed. He had to take a bath. He had to run his errands, etc. He needed time to socialize. Very interesting. Getting back to the music. 2 hours a day, he played violin. Classical music helps reduce stress. We all know that by playing music, for doing sports also, that also can reduce your stress as well. Right now, we're going to focus on the music because we're talking about Einstein playing the violin for 2 hours every day. So classical music helps reduce stress by lowering your cortisol levels in the body. Now, one of the things that musicians, especially for those of you who are woodwind instrumentalists and musicians, like I play the flute. So one of the things that is inherent to playing the flute, the clarinet, the saxophone, trumpet, trombone, any woodwind, oboe, the fagot, gosh, there's so many different woodwind instruments: saxophone, tenor sax, bass sax, etc. Any woodwind instrument. You are using the breath. You have to, one of the first things you learn as a musician, because if you don't learn how to modulate and how to use your diaphragm, is you get very lightheaded because you're not breathing fully. And so one of the first things you learn to do is to inhale completely, using all of the air, not leaving any stagnant air at the bottom of your lungs. And you learn to strengthen and how to modulate your diaphragm. And singers know this very well too. In order for you to be able to sing, I sing as well, you have to be able to, in order for you to hold a note for a long time, in music, we have a whole note. That's, a 4-count beat, and you might have several in a row. So in order to do that, you have to have breath control. You have to be able to inhale completely and exhale completely. And as you inhale and as you're releasing it slowly but surely, you have to be able to hold that diaphragm steadily and releasing a small amount of air and yet projecting at the same time. Same thing with the woodwind instrument. You need to be able to, otherwise you're like, you don't want to hyperventilate. So with that, not only do you get good sound out of your instrument, but guess what else it does? That's sedating your hippocampus. Yes, because you have that pattern of breath, it automatically serves to sedate the hippocampus in the back of your head. It's like a lever. We've talked about how the physiological size, 2 quick inhales followed by a long exhale. So 2 quick inhales, doing the exhale through the mouth to accentuate it so that you recognize it and notice it more. You do both. You want to breathe through your nostrils because your nostrils will inherently switch on and off your left side versus your right side as it's activating the left hemisphere versus the right hemisphere. And it alternates throughout the day, depending on how you offload the carbon dioxide. As you inhale, you take in oxygen. When you exhale carbon monoxide, and then you're offloading carbon dioxide that you produce inside the body as you inhale and as you exhale. As you do the 2 physiological sighs followed by a long exhale, that sedates your reptilian brain. It sedates your hippocampus. It's like turning an on switch. You might be feeling nervous, anxious, stressed out, and it's like turning it off. Now you just do 2 quick inhales followed by a long exhale. You do 3 sets of 3, you knock it out. If you really want to kick up the ante, really resolve and dissolve every thought, feeling, or emotion that is negative inside your entire body, then you will do the 2 physiological sighs, the maniocular technique, which is 3 sets of 10. All you do is focus on your hand, left, right, 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 sets of that, and then the lymphatic flush. At the end of the video, you can see the PSMO for details on how to do the last part, the lymphatic flush, which circulates not only all of your blood and your oxygen, and it moves your lymph throughout your body to keep your immune system and to keep you healthy, but it's a natural energy boost. And your testosterone gets increased, your willpower gets increased just through that 3-minute PSMO method. So getting back to the music helping reduce your stress. The breathing is going to reduce your stress. Also, your hearing. If you look at an EEG and you are looking at the brain waves, what happens to the brain waves, how they entrain. Oftentimes they go to a certain beat that it picks up from the rhythm of the music, the sound and the cadence of the music, especially with Baroque classical music. That's very common. Gregorian chants, it's very common. We see that brainwave state. And so there are clues, secrets to success always leave clues. So again, it lowers cortisol levels. So our brains, you may or may not know this, but our brains consume 20% of the body's energy. That's why some people have mental fatigue. The quickest way to relieve mental fatigue is state control. The quickest way I know to execute and to do state control, doesn't matter where you are. You can do it on a plane. You could do it in a hospital at the end of a hallway. You could do it at your office. You could do it at home. You could do it in your bedroom. You can pretty much do this anywhere. Is the PSMO method. It takes just 3 minutes. So know that in 3 minutes, you can change your state control. If you're having brain fatigue, if you're feeling lethargic, if you're feeling jet lag, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling PTSD triggered, if you're feeling anxious, nervy, critical, just negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, PSMO will knock it out. And it's because you're changing your physiology and you're using certain neurosomatic mechanoreceptive behaviors to trigger your brain to get back into the right state. So that's it for the Einstein share. Let me go back to the next. Where is the notes that I'm sharing with you guys? Let me see if I can find that. Doing a little bit of a challenge finding my notes. Did I maybe minimize it? Oh, here we go. So, oh, it's because it's the color, because the sun finished setting. So the screen changed from a white colored screen to a black colored screen. That's why I couldn't find it. So I apologize for that. So then the next thing we have here, my friends and gems, I'm going to share with you. I already shared with you some facts about Einstein, about Darwin, etc., about Elon. So what I wanted to share with you is how you and Einstein are far more similar than we are different. And also with Elon Musk. I already mentioned about how Elon couldn't get a job at Netscape and how he created those companies. Did you know that Einstein, when he graduated from high school, he applied for a technical institute because he was hoping to, that was his life's endeavor. And did you know that they turned him down? He could not get in. He failed. He could not get in. So what did he do? He decided to go work at the US Patents Office, which was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to him, because that he learned so much and so many things. One of his first mentors came from the US Patents Office, and he learned things that he would have not otherwise learned had he gone straight into technical school. So the first technical school, he failed the admissions process to a technical school. Did you know also that Einstein was not good at math? He was a physicist, and yet he was not good at math. In fact, he had somebody else do a lot of the math for him because he was not particularly exceptional at math. But he still had a brilliant and genius mind. There's no question about it. There isn't out of the 198 countries on the planet, we all acknowledge him as being the most intelligent man in the world. So why am I sharing these things about Elon Musk, about Steve Jobs, about Einstein, about Darwin? So let me share with you a little conversation I had tonight with my dear friend Clint Baggett of Evolving Minds, who, as you know, he has helped host quite a few of these. He did all of the month of May while I was traveling in Costa Rica. So we were having this conversation about how the energy, we keep on doing our meditations. We have these, sometimes we have these extraordinary mystical experiences. There's a lot of energy moving. Then other times there's like nothing. It's like not even crickets. You don't even hear cricket sounds. It's just like, well, I just really don't see or feel, or it seems like it was just a quote unquote flat meditation, right? And there are times that we feel so energized by the meditations. And then there are others, we're like, okay, so even though I show up to my meditation and I'm open and so forth, I don't have a preset expectation. I might have an intention that I'm setting, but it's always cool and welcomed when you feel a lot of energy moving. You have a thermodynamic response where you get really hot, or maybe you get the shivers, or maybe you get ASMR, or maybe you get the chills, or like the chicken skin or the goosebumps, or maybe you just feel energy going in waves up and down your body, and you feel that low hum vibration, which is such an awesome feeling. Or maybe you feel twitches and so forth throughout your body. It manifests in all sorts of different ways for different people, but there are other times where it's like, it's kind of non-eventful. So Clint and I were talking about that today. And we were talking about how, in fact, he was talking about how today it's like, wow, he's had so much stuff that he's like this weekend, he produced a lot of content for a really cool app that he's creating, which I can't wait for him to be done. There's video content that he created, I think, of something to the tune of like 15 hours of content, and they're 15-minute videos each. So that's a lot of content to produce in a week, let alone just a few days. But it just poured out of him, much like the way the information poured out of me for the Intuition Manifesto book. And it's poured out for the curriculum for the Intuition Manifesto master classes. The 20 weeks that I came up with, that flew out of me, just like the contents of the book flew out of me. That came out all in one day, which was shocking to me. And so one of the things that we were talking about, and Clint was saying, it's like, okay, well, now it's the end of the day and so forth. And he's feeling kind of tired. And I go, I said to him, I go, it's funny that you should mention that, because this last week, that's how I was feeling. And I don't know if tired was the best, because I don't usually feel tired. I'm kind of a weird bird in that regard. I'm kind of not a hyper, but I'm kind of a high energy person. And I put myself to sleep and I get to sleep right away. When I put myself to sleep, I don't have any trouble going to sleep because I do my regular meditation and then I meditate myself to put myself to sleep. And then I drift off, but I don't get tired. But I wasn't feeling the energy of doing certain things that I needed to do with my work. I kept my appointments. I did all my, I never flake. I don't, it's got to be, I got to get hit, like I was hit by an Orange County Transit Authority bus. Needless to say, the day that I got hit by the Orange County Transit Authority bus, whatever I had planned that evening and the following days and weeks that ensued, it all got wiped out of my calendar because I couldn't see. I was in so much pain, so short of that, the bottom line is this last week, since I got back from Costa Rica, wasn't as productive as, that flow state when you're in your right mind, where it just all this stuff comes out. And I got to tell you, my ego really likes when I am able to produce a great amount of, I'm producing content, I'm producing results, I'm being efficient with everything from the number of calls, the number of people that I'm talking to, the number of private sessions with my private clients, my clients who have me on retainer, all those different things that are, I don't want to call it busy work because it's all, to me, it all feels like fun and play. But there are certain aspects that require, like video editing and adjusting things on my YouTube channel and things I still need to get done that I just wasn't feeling it this week. And truth be told, that there was something in the energy, because after I had produced this massive amount of content, then I had this period of lull. It didn't feel bad. I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel fatigued, but I just wasn't as eager to jump on. And I wasn't in the state where I was receiving a ton of downloads, where I was drinking out of the fire hose again. And so Clint was sharing a similar experience where it's like he had just produced all this content and it's like, can't be here tonight. And so I just need to just chill, which I totally understand. And I said, yeah, I've been feeling this way this past week. Now, one of the things that we shared with each other was that, I noticed this weekend that the moon it wasn't a full moon yet, but I noticed that the moon looked like it was full, and it wasn't a full moon and it wasn't a new moon yet. I also noticed that the tide was, whenever we have a full moon, the tide always rises and the water is abnormally high. When you live close to the beach, you know what the normal waves look like, and you know what the tide in the harbor, like a normal level, a high level, and a low, it's equally freaky to see it super low. So it was kind of high, but it wasn't the full moon yet. And so the thing that I noticed riding my bike back yesterday, it was all going towards the sunset. So for about an hour, I just watched this incredible sunset. And I mentioned how I noticed that the sun I've only seen an aura around the sun 3 times in my life, yesterday being the 3rd time. And each time it's been different. But the aura that I saw yesterday was so spectacular, so rich in color, nothing like any aura that I had seen before. And this one was like a fuchsia pink. It was like a thin fuchsia pink auric field around it. And then right next to that was an orange auric field. And then it was a very large yellow and then limey green auric field, and then you have the sun itself. And it looked amazing. I was like, oh my gosh. So I got to enjoy that for the better part of 45 minutes. And to tell you the truth, I realized that some of the paintings that I've seen a lot of artists do, I realize now, wow, when artists paint an auric field around a sun, it's not just like something pretty that they're throwing up there. It's actually what they saw. Like the colors were so brilliant, so distinct. It was so spectacular to look at. And I'm seeing this through my own eyes. I wasn't wearing sunglasses because I wanted to get some vitamin D from the sun when I went riding yesterday. Just like today, I didn't wear sunglasses on purpose. And I realized those artists are actually depicting, the only way you could share that with another person is to actually draw it or paint it. And I thought to myself as I wrote, I'm like, gosh, I wish I could put up my camera and take a picture of it. I know that the aura is not going to show up because this is the vibrational interpretation that I'm seeing through my eyes. It's not something external from me that's giving me this result. So all of that to tell you that I knew that there's something very special about the energy that's going on right now on the planet Earth, and how as we have upgrades in our bodies, there's times that from that blissful, euphoric, nirvana-ish, enthusiastic, joyous high that we have from cool signs, symbols, serendipity, from large amounts of volume of work that come through us that we could have never anticipated. All that progress, it's very satisfying to see. It's like, oh my gosh, I could have never intended for all of this stuff to come out the way it came out. And so it's like, it's a rush. It really is like a runner's high. And it's like playing like the most exquisite composition of music. If you've ever played music extemporaneously and you play a beautiful song that you didn't anticipate to play, or maybe you heard it in your inner mind's ear and eye, and then you went to attempt to play it with your instrument, and then it came out and you're like, oh my gosh, you could have never anticipated that it was going to sound so beautiful once you actually played it with your instrument. Piano, flute, guitar, whatever your instrument is, then that's something that's really undescribable. Unless you've experienced that, it's hard to put a language to it. But it's a lustful type of experience, which is very euphoric, and it's like riding a wave. So Clint talked about this guy named Dean Lewis. I'm going to see if I can pull up Dean Lewis's song, because his song is called Waves. And his song, you know what, I don't want to get a copyright infringement, so I'm just going to let you guys look it up on your own. I'm going to look it up on my own. But he talks about how you're riding the waves and you have to wait for the next wave to come. And that's what surfers do. You know, surfers, if you watch them, they count waves. You count. There's like a certain timing that you count so that you can space one wave after the next wave, so you can catch a wave. I'm not a surfer, but I'm definitely a beach girl. And I remember one time I was in Hawaii, and I was so dumb, because especially being from Southern California, being from Huntington Beach, where, you know, it's like Surf City, right? I should have known better. And I don't know what I wasn't thinking, obviously. So I didn't pay attention to the waves stacking themselves. And this was in Hilo. And this was specifically at South Point, which is where Green Sand Beach is, which is incredible, because the sand at Green Sand Beach, also known as South Point, the sand, when you're looking at it during the daytime, it looks like the sand is a sea of emeralds. It is the most spectacular. It's not a metaphorical kind of sort of green. It is the color of emeralds, and it sparkles like these emerald diamonds. It's just spectacular. So anyhow, when I was at the beach at this particular time, the waves are kind of big there at South Point Beach. It's the southernmost part of the United States, which is why it's called South Point. And the waves, I didn't realize how close together they are. Like here in Huntington, the waves are farther apart, so you have more time in between waves. So inadvertently, what happened to me was that and the waves are pretty big. And I thought I had given myself enough distance so that even with the height of the wave, that I would be able to be fine. And what ended up happening, I didn't realize that there was a second wave right on the tails. It was like seconds behind that one wave. So when the second wave hit, I ended up tumbling, and I inadvertently had an involuntary back bend where I ended up hitting my chin on the ground. I am lucky that I did not break my neck with that particular incident. And I almost drowned, but luckily I didn't drown. Luckily I came out of there. I was kind of dumbfounded. I was disoriented and so forth. But that was my experience. Now, how does this relate to meditation? I want you guys to be aware and just notice, just hit the pause button for right now, suspend your disbelief, just play pretend, believe with me that what I'm telling you is true, because every human being has to go through this ebb and flow of the tides coming to you in life, where there are times where the waves come and you're able to catch that wave and you're able to ride the wave. And while you're in there it's like this wanderlust, this euphoria, this just runner's high. You're like, yes. And it's like you're trying to keep up with it. And it's like this amazing energy flow. It's just awesome as the vibration and the energy is flowing through your body. It's like, it's very hard to even language. And you're like, when you're in it, it is just nirvana. It is this euphoric, beautiful, awesome feeling. And then once it then begins to subside, and then the wave finishes its cresting, right? Then it hits the shore, and then you have this ebb and flow of calm before the next wave comes. And when you hit that lull, the more you move forward in meditation, the higher that lull is going to feel. Because it could be that before you started meditation, you had depression, anger, frustration, annoyance, short-temperedness, impatience, flabbergasted feelings of overwhelm, of not enoughness, and so forth. So maybe that was your low before, and now you move to being happy, and now you don't go that low anymore. As you continue on, your low point might be you just feel flat. So you go from that euphoric, awesome, incredible, oh my gosh, that was fun, what a rush. It's almost tantamount to speeding in your car. Like if you like to speed, like I like to drive fast. So I like to take it up to 90, 100 and above, if I'm around here, but when I'm driving to Vegas, I like to go fast. So it's that adrenaline rush, right? But when you drop down the speed, if you keep your car in fifth gear the whole time, guess what? You're going to burn out your engine. You can't stay in perpetuity in fifth gear, revving your engine at that high of revolutions per minute without there are consequences to that type of behavior. That's true for a machine, and that's true for your body. So as your body is digesting, and it is literally digesting and settling into your new state of being, and your body is receiving biological upgrades, even if you feel like nothing is happening during your meditation. That was abundantly clear to me in the spring of 2020, when we were at the beginning of our pandemic. One of my meditations, I don't want to say complaining, but I kind of sort of was saying, it's like, oh, I kind of feel like my meditations are kind of flat. So I'm having this conversation with all the divine beings, because I always call all these divine beings, any healing energy, to come into my meditative process. They're part of the energy that supports me, in me, through me, and all around me. And they made it very clear. And I say they very respectfully, the name Elohim in Hebrew, it's a collective energy. It's not just, it's one of the 72 names of God. So Elohim is a plural. It's not singular. Okay. So the collective energy said, he goes, those meditations where you said were flat, you said that nothing appeared to be happening, make no mistakes. There is a lot that is going on in those meditations that you are labeling as flat and nothing is going on, and that the only benefit you're getting is profound peace, serenity, and a sense of calm, which, albeit a lot of people would love to be feeling serenity, peace, and a sense of calm during the pandemic. And I was feeling total serenity. And so that's a pretty big payoff. And I wasn't trying to belittle that, but it was made very clear to me that there are all sorts of things that are being downloaded into your body when you meditate, even when you feel zero. When you go to sleep after meditating, there's more that continues to be downloaded into your body, down to your DNA level. The light activation codes, make no mistakes, we are light beings. There's so much having to do with light, not just the BS artificial light. I actually have incandescent bulbs here. I don't have LED lights here. I have 3 red, 3 white. I'm going to do another, if you guys are interested, the 111, if you go to my Facebook page, I talk a little bit about that. There's things that have to do with destiny points and more about light and what you need to do. This is something very, very, very occult, very, very hidden information, which I rarely talk about it, but I'm starting to come out a little bit more and talk about it. But we are light beings. Our DNA shows up. It lights up like a Christmas tree. We see it in all sorts of different, we see it in the EEGs, the EKGs. It's all a matter of the electrons inside of our body transmitting light. It's the energy units that make up the all of us. And so make no mistakes, there's a lot going on. In Dr. Joe's researchers, there's quantifiable evidence that 50% of the people who are actually tested with heart monitors, with EEGs, EKGs, telomere lengths, DNA sampling, blood samples, etc., all of that, 50% of the participants between novice meditators and advanced meditators, both 50%, 40 to 50% of them they reported feeling nothing. And when the research scientists asked them, it's like, wait a minute, what happened right here? It's like your brain went from theta to gamma, high gamma brainwave state. And it's like you were having a mystical experience. And they're like, really? To tell you the truth, they're in the middle of a biological upgrade. And they're like, to tell you the truth, I didn't feel anything. I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right. 40 to 50% of the people, which is so in line with what I was told in, I think it was April of 2020 in that meditation. So make no mistakes, there's a great deal that's going on. So let's move on here. We are, oh my gosh, it's already 54 minutes into the meditation secret. So we're going to zip through the rest of this. So I want to say that when it comes to Einstein, when it comes to Clint, myself, when it comes to Steve Jobs, when it comes to Elon Musk, all of us have to raise our vibrational frequency. We all have to learn self-love. We all have to learn self-mastery. What is self-mastery? What is self-love? That means that you need to learn to distinguish your ego from your brain, separate from your right mind. And when your ego is trying to say, I don't know if I can do it, or I don't know if I'm doing this right, all the egoic chatter, you got to learn to silence that voice and to not feed that wolf like the Taoists talk about. When the Taoists ask, there is a parable of a Taoist monk having a student asking the master, how do I know, which wolf is going to succeed? This angry, bitter wolf over here, or this loving, just jovial, happy, vibrant wolf? And then the monk, who is the master, replied, it's like, whichever one you feed, if you give your undivided attention to this wolf that is angry, bitter, resentful, just in fury, then that's the one that's going to grow pretty fat, and that will be where you will vibe at. If you starve this one and give it no attention and give all of your attention to this beautiful, loving, happy, joyous, ebullient wolf, then that's the one that will grow. So whichever one you feed, that's the one that will grow. And so that is what you have in common with Einstein. Einstein, instead of dwelling on what am I doing wrong, he didn't ask that question, because that's a lousy question to ask your brain to deliver you evidence of what you're doing wrong. There's an infinite amount of things that we do wrong. Why would we want to put our focus and attention on more things that we're doing wrong? No, instead, you know what? Whatever we're doing is good enough. What am I doing right? So I can be aware of more things that I'm doing right, and I can now feed that wolf. And how much better can it get? Well, my friends and gems, it can just get better and better day by day in every way. That's what Cynthia Sue Larson says. How much better can it get? How good can it get is what she says, which I love. Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson, incredible. How good can it get? Well, guess what? It can get pretty good. And so those individuals, just like Einstein, just like Clint, just like myself, we all have had to learn to master ourselves and to love ourselves enough to know that we deserve this wonderful, awesome, beautiful life. And is everything always rosy, peachy king and always perfect? No, there are things that happen that are less than desirable. It happens to all of us. But you know what? Now when we go to that flat state, or if we hit whatever our low is now, it's much higher than the low that was when I first got hit by the bus, for example, or before that, when I was in the midst of this divorce that took 6 long years. So now when I hit my low parts, it doesn't feel low, it just feels flat in comparison to being euphoric and happy and excited on a runner's high and just so juicy and awesome and just ecstatic. So to be flat is a big contrast, but I'll take that any day that ends in a Y than the lows that I used to have before. And the same thing is true for you. So as you learn to manage your state and you get better at that, it gets easier with time because your ego realizes it's like, it won't even try because it knows it's like, well, I can't use anger because she's way too on to me for that. So I can't use anger. I can't use frustration. I can't use doubt. I can't use hurry and worry. I'm going to have to be sneakier. Maybe I'm going to have to do a lighter shade of doubt or a lighter shade of worry or hurry. And it'll pick different areas of your life to let those different shades come in because it still wants to keep you to the familiar past and it wants you to get engaged in how you used to do things. Okay. So that is something we all have to pass through that level of self-love and mastery. And to the degree with which you are able to master that, your soul, your spirit grows, and the more you can continue to fulfill the purpose for which you were brought forth in this 3D experience that you're in. So before we answer the questions, the last thing I'm going to talk about is a metaphor of a bike, whether it's a regular 3-speed, 10-speed, 21-speed bike. It could be an e-bike or a regular bike. I have one of each. And one of the things that, if you think about when you're bike riding, let's say if you have a 21-speed bike, if you're riding let's say a 3-speed bike, if you're on 3 speeds and you're just traveling, all airy-fairy, right? And you go from the level 3, which is standard, and you drop it down to 1. Now your pedals go really fast, but you're not really making a whole lot of progress because it feels like you're not even doing anything. And it's kind of hard to not have any resistance whatsoever as you're on a flat plane. Usually you don't drop it down to a 1 unless you're going up a hill, right? So if you keep it just on the regular 3 when you're flat, then you have enough resistance where you feel progress. You can feel that your legs are actually turning the wheels. That feels satisfying. That feels you're working your legs, you're making progress, you're moving the gears to engage with your pedals so that you're moving forward. And I got to tell you, that is so much like life. We are designed to create. We're not designed to sit idle doing nothing. There are seasons for everything. There are times to have vacation. There are times to work. And it's a matter of judging the ebb and flow of that wave. There are times to be like surfing, jumping on that wave and riding the wave. And there are times to wait for the next wave to come, to take a walk during the day so that maybe later in the day, when the wave appears, you're able to jump on there. And so if we don't have a little bit of resistance, like, as you know, sometimes you can get lost if you're on the level, on the first gear, then there's like nothing to resist. And you could be pedaling like crazy. And there comes a point where you can't even pedal because it's not engaging with the gear. So you got to take it up to level 3 again so that you have enough resistance. So you feel that on a flat plane, you're riding your bike. And so that's much like life. Sometimes you have to have, and the divine knows exactly what it is that we need. So it puts different little nuances and circumstances, and it's going to be all tuned into whatever it is that you uniquely need for your soul to evolve. So I want you to keep that in mind, that our life is kind of like it's like a bike metaphor. That, again, you could have a 3-speed bike, you could have a 21-speed bike. The bottom line is that as you are dropping down in gears, sometimes things get so easy. Sometimes it's like you're just waiting for that next wave, so that then there's enough resistance where you've got to take it back up to level 3. And then as the incline gets really tough, then you might need to bring it back down to a level 1. Now you're going uphill. And now, thank goodness for that level 1, which when it was flat, it's not useful. There's no fun in that. But now as you're going up the hill, thank goodness you have that level 1, because now you're going faster, but you could feel the resistance. Now the level 1 is not even that easy. It's like, okay, it's the exact amount of resistance you need in order to engage your pedals with the gears so that you get yourself up to the top of that hill before you start to go down again, at which point you need to go up in gears again. That makes sense? Okay, so let's go ahead. There's a few people who asked about, we have Juan who asked, any advice on dealing with anger? The quickest way to change your psychology is your physiology. The quickest way to change your psychology, your emotional state, how you're feeling immediately, is to focus on the breath, state control, and to meditate. Focus on the breath. PSMO. I'm going to write it down here. I cannot say this enough. The PSMO method, it just takes 3 minutes. The beginning has your breath control part. It has the maniocular technique, which is going to relink and rewire, engaging your right and left hemisphere of the brain to resolve any negative thoughts, feelings, or emotions. And the third part, your lymphatic flush, that's going to increase your willpower, boost your testosterone, and get your body circulating to move the energy throughout your body so that any brain fog is immediately knocked out and your energy is up. And then you feel energized, and you even feel like the buzz for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours later. You're like, wow. A lot of people, the rest of the day, they're like good. They're like happy the rest of the day. For me, that's my morning routine every day. So that's what I advise with regards to dealing with anger or any emotion that's unpleasant, that doesn't feel good to you. Okay. The formula, I'm going to repeat the formula over and over again, because so many people, this is such, like every single day I get questions about this. And so I have written it down into 7 simple steps. 1, close your eyes. 2, close your eyes, roll your eyeballs so that you're looking up into your eyebrows, so that you automatically, as soon as your eyes go up, it's like a lever in your brain goes into theta brainwave state. It even bypasses alpha and you go straight into theta. 3, slow down your breath, sedate your hippocampus, slow down your breath. 4, slow down your heart rate. So breath, because your diaphragm is here. I'm going to stand up here. This is your diaphragm under your lungs. Slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, slow down your brain waves. In that order, slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, slow down your brain waves, and you're telling yourself that I am slowing down my breath, I'm slowing down my heart rate, slowing down my brain waves. Continue to say that. You have your clear intention, whatever it is that you're meditating for, to manifest something, to create a new job, to create more health, whatever it is that your dream, your goal, your target is. And then the last part, of course, you have to let it go. Once you have the clear intention, you have that target, then you have to let it go. You have to feel the elevated emotions of love, gratitude, and appreciation. Okay. Moving on. The next person's question is Mariana, and she says, I feel so frustrated after meditating after a while now, and after having really interesting experiences. I don't understand why I'm back. Even worse than when I started. I started meditating with music and theta waves. Almost instantly started feeling and seeing the energy. Then I discovered Dr. Joe, and it was amazing. Not because I had great results, but I felt the centers and the energy of the field. Had weird and amazing experiences. Then everything stopped. I don't feel anything. I just don't know what I'm doing. Help. So Mariana, you and anybody, a lot of us have experienced this. So the truth of the matter is, You say that you just don't know what you're doing. That's not the real you that's speaking. That's your ego that's going, no, you can't change. You need to stay in the familiar past. We need to have a predictable, certain outcome. I need you to stay addicted to certainty. So I can't have you thinking that you know what you're doing. So I'm going to make you feel nothing. So you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And so that's what your ego is trying to feed you, which is not true. So ego, time out. Brain, you tell brain, do as I say. And now you know that once you tell your brain, I literally tell my brain, ego, time out, brain, do as I say. I gave the command, it's done. I don't doubt is my ego. Questioning is my ego. Anything that's other than I got this, because a true me, I'm one with the all. I know that I've got this. And the more you do it, the more natural it will become, the greater your belief will be, because you start to have so many signs, symbols, and synchronicity. You have such a preponderance of evidence that you know with a shadow of a doubt that in fact that is true. Plus you will have mystical experiences where I've had so many people, myself included, where I had one mystical experience where I actually walked up these like crystal stairs. There were 11 crystal stairs. And then I showed up to this thing called the 11's gate, which I've never heard of before. Just in this meditation, it was called the 11's gate. Long story short, when I got to the top of the 11th stair, the gates opened, and then I was in the all, but I was the all in that state. And I saw everything that I had written down, like my past was there, my present was there, and the things that I was in the process that I had literally written down to manifest and to create in my life, everything, it was all simultaneously there at the same time, but I was it. Kind of hard to describe it, but once you feel that sensation, and now I can tap into it, just talking to you about it, it's like kind of reliving a portion of it, which is the best thing that you can do, is to tap into the energy of another. That's an altered state of being. You want to tap into that awesome feeling, because you're conditioning the body to a new mind. So your body's going, oh, wait a minute, she already experienced this. This is already in the past. So we got to catch up to make that a reality. And then as you're doing that, you're taking the particles, slowing down the waveforms of energy, which is light. When you slow down light energy, it turns into particles. That's what happens. Inside your body, it does it to create proteins, fats, lipids. You know, your proteins are built on, your DNA is built on proteins. Your brain runs on proteins. So a lot of the bio neurochemical stuff that goes on inside your body is, you know, that's why your eye, your retina has the photoreceptors behind it, because it has the energy as light comes into your eye from the sun and from whatever light source, it has to slow down so that it can turn the energy particles back into waveforms, back into new particles to combine, depending on what you've eaten, iron versus magnesium, you know, because it has to bring that into your bloodstream, and from your eyes into your bloodstream, and from your bloodstream, it takes it through your autonomic nervous system. Make no mistakes, the blood that you have throughout your body circulates through your eyes several times a day. The entire volume of all of the blood in your body, it circulates through your eyes, believe it or not. And then it has to go into your spinal column and then be disseminated throughout your body. And that's how the body is restored and regenerated and so forth. Okay. So with regards to this feeling of being frustrated, that's your ego. So go, now I realize that's my ego, time out, brain, do as I say. And then you just move forward with the formula, and you're uploading your request into 5D. This is all part of the process, and it's normal and natural. Every human being has to go through this experience to overcome that, to overcome the who that they have been, to be the person who they are and who they want to become. Okay. Tanya, It says, do you know of anyone who has stopped needing to wear glasses after meditating? Yes. Well, for one, when I got hit by a bus, my eyes were like, I could not see anything clearly. I could not see this screen clearly. So I had to get multiple sets of glasses, none of which worked because my eyes were fluctuating so much. Now I can actually, now only, I don't have to use magnifying glasses or the magnifying sheets anymore. So knock on wood, all of that got healed. So now sometimes in the evening, not often, I'll wear my reading glasses. And that's about it. But it's not even every day. It's just now and then. So I'm actually, I'm due to have my eyes checked up again, but I'm hoping that I'll get back to 2020, 2010, maybe even better, because I wasn't 2020 before. I was like 2040. So anyhow, so I'm hoping that when I go get my eyes checked, it'll be, like I said, 2010 or 20, at the very least 2020. So yes, your eyes can, in fact, be healed to the point that just through meditation. And there's also stem cell patches. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. That's something that I now provide to my private clients and so forth. If you're interested, just reach out to me in the comments below here on Facebook or in the comments below here on YouTube, and you can get in touch with me and we can set you up on that. Okay. Shrimoyi, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Your question is, please help with indicating the energy center for skin issues while doing Bowtech meditation. Okay, so here's the deal. For any condition, doesn't matter if it's for skin issues, eye issues, hair issues, type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's, if you were hit by a bus like I was hit, if you're someone who is at risk of having your leg amputated, like my friend Lillian. She did not have her leg amputated, even though they told her, you know, because she broke her back. She also, her leg shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. They said they had to amputate it. She would not allow it. She knew that she could heal it. She doesn't even limp. This happened less than 3 years ago. And the bottom line, actually, if you see on Facebook Live a month ago, in the month of May, you'll see that I did several YouTube lives with her. She's not even limping, my friends and gems. She's like completely healed. So the bottom line is that whatever your condition is, you have to have all of your energy centers have to be balanced, all of them. You can't just focus on one energy center. Most people have the first 3 energy centers are out of whack, oftentimes the 4th also, which is your heart center. Some people have closed up their hearts, so they are not allowing themselves to feel sadness, pain, grief, melancholy, resentment, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is this. If you just do Bowtech, let's say you just do Bowtech 1, because they're up to Bowtech 9, I believe now. So if you just do blessing of the energy centers and focus on having your focus and attention and blessing each energy center with love and with joy and just seeing brilliant light on each energy center as you travel all the way up, and then letting go, knowing that it is done, and just keep repeating that. And if you get bored of the first blessing of the energy centers, then go to Dr. Joe's website and buy blessing of the energy centers too. You can keep on doing that or alternating between 1, 2, or 3. You know, you decide how many of those you want to purchase and invest. I want you to think of that as an investment. It's not a purchase, it's an investment, because you are deriving a benefit, a direct benefit from doing the blessing of the energy centers. So that is as valuable as you investing in a book, which is the first investment is that of money. The second investment is your reading or listening to the meditation and doing it. And the third one is practicing it to the point of mastery. And the fourth is your remembering to repeat that mastery of that information. And there's level Bowtech 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. So you can get a few of them so that you can alternate them or master one at a time. That's actually what I did. Once I got tired of 1 because I practically had it memorized, then I did 2, 3, up to 8. So that's what I would recommend. So don't get stuck on thinking that it's only one type of meditation that is going to heal only this type of condition. You can be healed of anything and everything just through blessing of the energy centers, okay? You can also do that with the pineal gland, but it's foundational to have the blessing of the energy centers first, and then the pineal gland meditation. Okay. Paul asks, if the mind is limitless or the key, how does one overcome concussion of multiple TBIs? Well, I suffered a really terrible TBI. I had a C5, C6 neck injury. I had an L5 lumbar back injury. I also had a leg injury sliced open right above my femur. It took over a year for the scar, and actually I still have a scar. It's much milder, so I know that in time it'll be completely resolved. But yeah, so the bottom line is know and trust that the meditations work. The mind is in fact limitless. The right mind is limitless. The left mind, by definition, is limited because that's your past thoughts, feelings, and emotion. It's all your learned conditioning and book knowledge and your past experiences, which are all limited in nature, whereas your right mind is infinite. So the way you become the one who is able to heal and to overcome the concussion is to meditate. That was my medicine for me. It was the only time I was not in pain was when I was meditating. So I spent many, many hours a day. I couldn't tell you how many hours a day. I would wake up, sit up in the middle of my bed, and I would begin the day meditating before I did anything else. I had water next to my bed, drank some water, and then I started the blessing, not the blessing of the energy centers. I actually started with breaking the habit of being yourself, which comes with 2 meditations, the water rising and the body parts meditation. Every morning I would do water rising meditation. Every night I would do body parts meditation. And sometimes in the afternoon, I would meditate once or twice a day just to get pain relief, because I was and I couldn't really read that much at the time, even though I did get Becoming Supernatural, and I got a plastic magnifying sheet. And I also had a magnifying glass because I was determined I was going to master that book, Becoming Supernatural, which I did. And I also would listen to it because I bought it also in Kindle form. I also listened to it. So I was immersed in the information, and that's how I became healed from that. And I have a video on it, how what I did to heal my traumatic brain injury. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, what I did to heal my TBI, and it's all right there. Okay, Sadie is the last question we have for tonight. And she says, I have a toe that was broken a couple years ago and it healed crooked. Has anyone ever straightened a healed bone or similar? Oh my gosh, it's 919. That's a master number, the 9s. Yes. Has anyone ever straightened a healed bone? Yes. Has anyone grown back a bone? Yes, there are accounts of people who actually have grown back a bone. Are there accounts of people who shattered an entire leg of bone where everything was tiny little fragments? Yes. Lillian Ramirez is one. Go to Dr. Joe's website or go to Dr. Joe's YouTube channel and put Lillian, and you'll find her video there. I interviewed her. I've got a video where she tells her entire story. It's a spectacular story. I'll be releasing that very soon, actually. So yes, so a little broken toe. I've broken a toe, not a fun thing, but mine healed straight because I reset it. However, I know that not everybody can do that. So for those of you who have a crooked, broken toe that is now healed crooked, know that yes, it will straighten. Even if you have metal plates in your spine or your arms or anywhere in your body, the intelligence that makes the body can heal the body, and it knows exactly what it needs to do in your entire biophysical body and energetic body in order to optimize and heal you completely, despite any other kind of medical intervention or anything foreign that might be in your body. Okay. So that is the last question for today. I want to thank you for tuning in here to Meditation Secrets on Love and Money Secrets TV. It is almost 9:22, so we are going to wrap it up today. And I thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can put whatever questions you have in the comments below, or go to the Meditation Secrets group on Facebook. And there you can ask whatever questions you might have. You could submit them so that I can answer them here on the YouTube live and the Zoom call. And I guess that's it for now, my friends and gems. I want to make available to you, of course, I want you to, if you haven't yet, make sure you pick up your copy of the Intuition Manifesto book, where a lot of the things that we discussed tonight are in the book. Last but not least, if you're interested in the stem cell patches, which is something new that I have available in my practice, then feel free to reach out to me and ask me about that again on Facebook, on my primary page, on my profile. Just comment on whatever my most recent video is. Let me know that you wanted to connect about the stem cell patches. And then that way, when we do connect by direct messaging, it won't go to spam, because I found hundreds and hundreds of people who've been trying to reach out since the beginning of the year. And I didn't realize there were so many of them there. And so, but it's not always accessible. It's not like you can go to your messages and find them. They're hidden. So anywho, I want to have you guys be able to reach me when you're wanting to reach me. And pretty soon my website will be done where you'll be able to reach me through that. And it'll get a little easier, I guess, to contact me. Okay, that's it for now. As always, ciao for now, my friends and gems. Make it a great day, especially those days that end in a Y.